Argentina walked into this World Cup as the #1 team on the planet, defending champions and Copa America holders with the greatest player of all time leading them. And by the time the final whistle blew in New Jersey, nobody felt sorry for them. Not a soul. Spain lifted the trophy, and instead of accepting it with grace, Argentina gave the world exactly what everyone had spent 4 weeks suspecting they were all along. This is where their downfall became inevitable.
Can it be that at the age of 43 he'll be back next time? Dare to dream. If anybody has enabled the world to dream, it's Lionel Messi.
Argentina looked untouchable before the 2026 tournament even started. They had not lost a competitive match in 38 consecutive games. They won the World Cup in Qatar. They followed that up with back-to-back Copa America titles. Messi, at 39 years old, had committed to one final ride on the biggest stage in football, and every single broadcaster, pundit, and prediction model on Earth had them going deep. The Opta supercomputer gave them a 10% chance of winning the entire tournament. Fox Sports had their analysts going around the table, and every single one picked Argentina as a top 4 contender. And the draw handed them a gift. Algeria, Austria, Jordan. Group J looked like a practice round before the real tournament even started. And then the football backed it up. Messi scored a hat trick against Algeria. 5 days later, he put 2 past Austria and broke Miroslav Klose's all-time World Cup scoring record, 18 goals, the most in the history of the men's tournament. Jordan fell 3-1, 9 goals in 3 group games. Every pundit on Earth was saying the same thing. Nobody is stopping this team. And if you were watching as a neutral, you felt it too. You felt like you were watching a coronation in real time. The greatest player ever, on the greatest stage, writing the greatest ending. And part of you wanted it because you love football and you love Messi and you wanted the fairy tale. But something else was happening underneath all of that, something most people did not want to talk about yet. And it started in the 31st minute of that very first game against Algeria. Messi chased a loose ball, caught Algeria captain Issa Mandi from behind, and raked his studs all the way down the back of his calf. Mandi hit the ground immediately. The freeze frame tells you everything you need to know. Studs up, contact above the ankle. That is a red card in any league, on any pitch, on any day of the week. ESPN analyst Ali Moreno called it 100% a red card and said it fed the narrative that the biggest stars get different treatment. His colleague Nedum Onuoha pointed out that even Messi looked concerned, like he knew he had crossed a line. Referee Simon Marciniak gave a foul. VAR did not intervene. Mandi later confirmed on the Campo podcast that Messi apologized to him immediately, that he came over and said he did not mean it. But the card should have come regardless. Algeria filed a formal complaint with FIFA within days, accusing the officials of refereeing injustice, and fans started doing something that would define the rest of this tournament. They started watching every Argentina match with a different set of eyes, not watching for brilliance, watching for the pattern. And you know what happened next. The pattern showed up. Egypt were leading 2-0 with 11 minutes to go. Mohamed Salah had already saved a penalty through his goalkeeper. Mostafa Zico had dinked a beautiful finish over Martinez for what should have been a back-breaking 3rd goal. And then VAR pulled the play all the way back to a foul deep in Argentina's own half, in the build-up, and wiped the goal off the board. Former England goalkeeper Rob Green said on air that the review was surely not within VAR's authority for that kind of incident. Ian Wright said on ITV that if you pull it back for Argentina, you have to pull it back for everyone. Minutes later, Salah was challenged inside the box by Julian Alvarez. Contact. Salah went down. No penalty. No second look. And almost immediately after that, Argentina went straight down the other end and scored. The Egyptian Football Association filed a formal complaint with FIFA. Former Egypt striker Mito said on air that if Egypt had knocked Argentina out, it would have been a scandal for FIFA because they would have lost millions. 2 federations, Algeria and Egypt, had now put official complaints in writing. And still, Argentina kept advancing. If you are sitting there thinking it could not get worse than that, you are wrong. Because in the quarterfinal, the laws of the game themselves got bent in Argentina's favor. Switzerland equalized in the 67th minute. through Dan Ndoye. The momentum had shifted. Murat Yakin was about to bring on fresh attackers. And then, in the 72nd minute, VAR used a new mistaken identity protocol to reverse a yellow card from Argentina's Leandro Paredes onto Swiss forward Breel Embolo for simulation. Embolo already had a yellow. That reversal became a second yellow, red card. Embolo walked off the pitch in tears. 2 weeks later, the IFAB, the actual body that writes the laws of football, published a formal clarification confirming the protocol was not eligible for that type of incident. The red card should never have been given. Switzerland were eliminated by a misapplied rule. And once they went down to 10 men, Argentina did not try to win the game. They feigned injuries. They needled the Swiss bench until the clock ran out. Alvarez and Lautaro scored in extra time, and Argentina went through 3-1. 3 knockout opponents, 3 controversies. And the worst part is that none of it was accidental. Argentina had turned gamesmanship into a system, and the semi-final against England was where they perfected it. The first half against England produced 19 fouls, 2 yellow cards, and 0 shots on target. Paredes shoved Bellingham in the face inside 2 minutes. Fernandes retaliated on Anderson. The referee stayed quiet, and Argentina ran their system perfectly. Paredes committed a tactical foul, stepped back. Fernandes took the next one. De Paul came on and took the one after that. They rotated who did the fouling so that no single player ever accumulated enough to risk a second yellow. It was not passion. It was not emotion. It was calculated, cold, deliberate exploitation of how referees decide what counts as persistent infringement. Gary Neville said on ITV after the final that Paredes had been a disgrace for the last couple of games and questioned why referees kept allowing it. And that is the part that should bother every football fan reading this. Because when you watch a team rotate fouls like chess pieces, when you watch them drag every opponent into the same ugly game, you stop caring about the football and start asking yourself whether any of the wins even meant anything. England lost 2-1. Late comeback with Fernandes from distance, Lautaro with a header in injury time. But the real story was not the result. The real story was that Argentina had now won 4 consecutive knockout matches, and not one of them had been clean. And then they met Spain, and everything fell apart. Spain did something no team in the tournament managed. They took the ball, and they never gave it back. 896 passes, 60% possession, 20 shots, and Argentina became the first team in the history of the World Cup final to go 90 minutes without a single shot on target. Not one. Think about that. A team with Lionel Messi on the pitch could not threaten the goal for an hour and a half. And when their football failed, they went to the only playbook they had left. Fernandes got a second yellow for a reckless challenge on 17-year-old Pau Cubarsí in the 93rd minute. Red card. Then Messi tried to get Cucurella sent off under the Prestiani law for briefly covering his mouth during a conversation. The same gesture his own teammate Mac Allister had made against Egypt with no consequences. Wayne Rooney said on the BBC that it was sad to see Messi doing that. Joe Hart called the whole thing disgusting. Ferran Torres scored in the 106th minute. Spain won 1-0, and then the violence started. Molina swung at Rodri. Paredes grabbed Eric Garcia by the throat, then threw 21-year-old Gavi to the ground. Argentina assistant coach Daniel Ayala was accused of striking Dani Olmo. Players who had not even been on the pitch were dragged into the chaos. Piers Morgan called them a bunch of nasty, violent thugs. Rooney said it did not surprise him one bit. Neville said Paredes had been a disgrace. Hart said, with Argentina, you are never surprised when they cross the line again. And then there was Messi, while his teammates threw punches and grabbed throats. He shook hands with every Spanish player, then sat alone on the grass, staring at nothing. He looked like the only person on that pitch who understood what had actually happened. Hart said there was one man out there who showed class, and it was Messi. Then came the final image. Spain lifted the trophy. The entire Argentina squad turned their backs. Not a few players, the whole team. This was not bad luck catching up with them. This was not a single bad night. This was years of behavior. From the 18 yellow cards against the Netherlands in 2022, to the brawl at the 2024 Olympics, to the racist chanting on the Copa America bus. Every edge, every dark art, every referee they gamed, it all led to this moment. 4 matches of bending rules, hunting for advantages, and dragging every opponent into the mud. And then they met a team that simply refused to get dirty. Spain came to play football. Argentina came to fight. And the football won. Drop your thoughts in the comments on whether Argentina deserved what happened to them that night, and whether you think they can ever repair the damage this tournament did to their reputation.